Can everyone see my screen? Give me a thumbs up, or can everyone see my presentation? Yeah, okay. So, first of all, we're going to wrap up the observation and hypothesis part of the notes for this week. Some expectation. Because of the incident last time, I would like some of you to please note most of you are very, very good people. You call out people who are acting pretty trashy or very childish. I said it's good that good people take action. So, some expectation. I know the school doesn't require you to have your webcam on, but imagine in real life, if I was teaching a class and people have the option to put a paper bag over their face, it would be really hard for me to read their facial expression. And you would never have the option to mute yourself in real life or not show your face. So please, I know it's really weird for me to not see people's face or movement. So if you get could from now on, please show that you are alive and active. You don't have to show your face. You can just wave every few seconds. You can point to your shirt and things like that. So, but Mr. Boo personal expectation is, please don't just have the icon on. It's not normal. Okay, it's not really normal to have a real class meet where you only see icons. So in a little bit, if you could, if you don't think your hair looks good or whatever, okay, here's mine. Okay, we are mature people who are not going to be focused on superficial thing. It's fine. Just point it to your shirt or somewhere else in your room, but at least have the camera on so I know people are not just watching something else or doing something else. So please note that. I'm going to ask you guys to do that. If you don't want to, no pressure, but that's just my thing. Second thing is please be mature, active, and honorable. We are in high school. Trashy behaviors are not welcome. Mature, good, active behavior are welcome. So B was like, Mr. Wu, what are you talking about? Okay. If I was talking to my dog, and my dog just always hide his face or don't look at me, that's not normal. I want my dog to actually behave. So if I was
Hi
talking to
Lucas,
Lucas
say hi to everyone.
and Lucas doesn't look at me, that's
Hi
weird.
Lucas, say hi to everyone.
Okay, so that's just an example once again of me showing you. Please be interactive, and it's best for you, and it's also best for me. Okay, so we'll continue with our presentation. Sorry, I'm going back to the slide because I exited out of that. About this in one of your history class later. If you guys don't know, my background is Vietnamese American. My family escaped Vietnam because it's a communist country that doesn't allow freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to express yourself politically, whichever affiliation. But during the Vietnam War, one incident that changed the history of the war in a way was not a big battle where we won or where we lost. There was a young lieutenant that was in charge of a couple platoon of American soldier, and their job was to investigate a village where some enemy, some Vietnamese communists, were hiding in there. This was a picture, if you can see my screen, with the ladies and the kids, that was taken by Time magazine photographer. They were there documenting the battle if there was a battle. But the young lieutenant did not read the map and the information carefully. His observation was not very good. And because he is also biased, and I have to say this, racist, he ordered his soldier to execute anyone that looked like they were semi-suspicious. Let me tell you this. Everyone in this picture was dead 15 minutes after this picture was taken. The reporter was there saying, this does not look normal, okay? Now, there's good people who choose to act and be mature. The picture of the gentleman on the right, that is a higher ranking officer who was flying above in a helicopter a few minutes after the order was given to execute the women and the children. You see this teenage girl that was 15, she's hiding behind her mom, and her mom is screaming out in fear because some of these soldiers, most of them were good, but they were just following order blindly. But some of them were misbehaving, and they raped and harassed all the young lady in the village. Okay, so just a little FYI, that's an example observation skill. But this gentleman on the right here, he was in a helicopter and he said, you guys were at the wrong coordinate. stop. And some of them were already emotionally or selfishly misbehaving. He actually told his helicopter crew that if you don't stop the people on the ground, when I give you the command, we all gonna get, going to trial, basically, court martial. And it is your duty to do the right thing, to fire on the American soldier who are committing war crime because they're killing kids, women, and children. So that's just an example of observation being very important. First of all, the bad guy, the guy who did screw up, was at the wrong village. Good guy noticed that it was the wrong village and people were dying even though he was in a helicopter above. He saw kids running away and getting shot in their back. So over 350 people were documented to be killed by the American soldier that day. Unofficially, it was close to 500 based on the reporter. So when we practice observation, I want you guys to be very accurate and detailed. We're not talking about science. We're talking about simply awareness. To be observant is to be aware. A is not a scientific question because that's a feeling. Do people like? B is a scientific question. How can I get more wind energy from an old wind turbine? Do I make it bigger? Do I change the blade? Do I change the angle? By the way, if you guys notice the car down here, this thing is huge. I would climb up on one of these ones. By the time I was up in the middle, I was sweating like a pig. By the way, that's a joke because pigs don't have sweat gland. That's why they play in mud. So that's a scientific question. Do pigs have sweat gland or not? Can I learn to love tuna? It's not. Love, like, hate, fear, those are human emotion, not based on science. Will a turbo to my car make it more fuel efficient? You're gonna see that next week. I took some picture of my car and it has a turbo in it. We'll see if it is more fuel efficient or not. Do police give more ticket to yellow car than gray car? That is a reaction from a human because they see yellow more than gray, and that one therefore is not a scientific question. Here's a story. You watched the news and you saw damage caused by a hurricane. As you guys know, we're getting one hit in the Gulf Coast right now in Alabama and part of Georgia and part of Florida. My question for that case is what? What is a possible scientific question with the fact that I'm looking at hurricane and people are boarding up the window? So this is not a scientific question. Are people afraid of hurricane? That's not a scientific question, right? Are people irritated by moving during a hurricane? Those are social science, so we call those social science like sociology or psychology, but those are not social science questions. A possible question is, does plywood protect your house from damage? Now the possible science question is, by having your house boarded, will there be less water damage? Because if you have a broken window and it's raining for like 32 hours straight, you're obviously going to get water damage, right? So possible question is how is going to be less damage with a boarded window or not, or will my window be boarded up to prevent damage? Any one of those questions is possible. So please know you cannot have human-based question for scientific question. So once again, not a good question. Is my house gonna look less cute when it's boarded up? No one's gonna care if it's cute or not. You want to protect your house when there's a hurricane because you don't want a bucket flying across the street at 80 miles per hour hitting you, for example. So last but not least, for your homework, which I just posted on your Google Classroom, this is the main homework for this last 2 weeks. Okay, please write a full hypothesis and then write the logical reasoning with it. So here's an example for the hurricane. If a house is boarded up, because of my observation being boarded up during a hurricane, then it will get less damage. So the hypothesis is in the blue part. Now, for the new part we're learning today, we're writing the logical reasoning. Okay? So the purple is my logical reasoning or my explanation. Because broken window can also lead to water damage. So you boarded up your house, you don't have broken window, no rain comes in, no water damage come in. So you explaining because broken window can lead to water damage and flying debris coming in. For those of you who have trouble reading it, I'll read the blue for you. Mr. Wu noticed after a few fishing trips to the Cannon River that his gas mileage on the car is different for the trip there and back. On one trip, which you don't know which one, where he was driving at the speed limit, he got a specific mileage. You don't know if it's high or low. Okay? On the other trip, he was taking his time going home, so he was driving a bit below speed limit. So instead of saying 70, I was going 60, or instead of 65, I was going 58. And I got a different gas mileage. So for your information, how much gas your car burns is affected by wind or air resistance. Okay? So usually the more speed you have, the more wind is blocking your car and more resistance you have. So please write a full hypothesis and an explanation. Remember, there's no judgment. I need everyone to write it down. So I'm going to cut and paste your comment and save that for myself. And that's your participation for today. Okay, so everyone need to write a hypothesis. So once again, Andrew Ramir Jr. did a very good job with his. Let's see. If Mr. Wu drive at a faster speed, then the gas mileage will be lower because the air pressure and wind will be stronger. Very good. Gas mileage means how much gas I use. So if I drive faster, I'm going to use more gas, right? I will have less gas being saved because there's more pressure and the wind will be strong because you pushing the air with this wind. Very, very good, Miss Lane. Let's see, fine. So Azar Ahmed wrote the hypothesis and he did an explanation at the end. It doesn't have to be long. Remember, writing long does not mean it's good. I see people write long books, but no one buys them because it's not very good.